Beer. Even if we don't drink it, there's no doubt that it surrounds our social circles, families, and everyday lives. But how did this popular golden beverage become such a staple in cultures around the world? There's many factors that come together to give beer its unique role in society, and I'm going to tell you all about it. I've been researching useful and useless facts, articles written by brewers worldwide, and discoveries made by brewers to bring you my own simplification of beer. First, I will dive into the history of beer. Then, I will jump into the brewing process and kind of explain it in a simplified form. And then finally, we'll see some cultural impact that beer has had, even with the founding of America. So first, let's dive into the rich history of beer. Archaeological evidence kind of brings us the farthest when trying to find out when alcohol was first distilled. But Stanford's Journal of Archaeological Science goes pretty far with discovering 13,000-year-old stone mortars that show signs of early beer making. And although this when is important in beer making and brewing and the process of it, I'm also concerned with how they even discovered such a thing. Well, this kind of comes with the fermentation of different grains and wheats and ingredients mixed together to form a beverage that is enjoyable and also repels a lot of bacteria. We see ancient Egyptians brewing this beer with odd ingredients such as olive oil or dates to give it kind of a fruity flavor. And it's not till the Middle Ages where we see Christian monks start to add hops to ale to improve the brewing process and bring you kind of what you know it today in Western society. And as we go through the Middle Ages, namely agricultural societies start growing these large quantities of wheat and barley and have them sitting in heaps, ready to go through the mill to make dough and other products. And as they're doing this, they're collecting large amounts of rainwater and fermenting the yeast and barley to create what we know as beer. And it was also a chosen drink of this time because, unlike water, it didn't hold a lot of bacteria, since a lot of the ingredients of it already kind of repels and kills bacteria because it becomes distilled alcohol. And now, once these societies kind of realized that this fermented wheat concoction was safe for consumption, it eventually became refined, leading to how we brew beer today, adding flavors and different ingredients to make it our own. And that kind of brings us into the brewing process and how we know it in modern society today. And to get started with the brewing process, we need to know the main foundational ingredients when brewing beer. They are water, malted barley, wheat, or a grain of your choice, and yeast. And whichever grain is chosen, they are mixed and heated to separate the enzymes in beer. Next, once this heated grain is mashed, it creates something called wort. The wort is then mixed in with yeast. In darkness, they join together chemically to create the magic of fermentation. Now that the beer is pretty much created, it goes through a whole refining process to get out any undesired ingredients and improve taste and flavor, and then it's bottled and undergoes inspection for safe consumption. Brewing beer in this flat fashion has more or less been the process of brewers for over 1,000 years, since the Middle Ages. And so now that we know that it's brewed, what happens next? Well, it's consumed, of course, bringing people together socially in many different environments. Did you know that America's first encounter with Native American people starts with the Mayflower coming ashore in Virginia? Most people kind of know that. But did you know that what brought them ashore was beer, of course? Beer was actually the chosen beverage for long sea voyages since it kept so well, whereas water could retain salt in the air and become brackish and just full of bacteria. And this shortage of beer on the Mayflower eventually brought them together with other Native American settlers and increasing trade. Although it also increased other things like land seizure and things like that, beer is what also connected these different cultures. Fast forward to the Boston Tea Party and, the preface to the American Revolution. It's an event that sparked it and was orchestrated by a group called the Sons of Liberty. And the Sons would meet at a tavern called the Green Dragon Tavern and plan their attack on the British tea merchants and, you guessed it, to drink beer. Living in a world where beer is so normalized and accepted in society, it's easy to overlook where it's kind of fit in as a catalyst for many years. And it'll be interesting to see the impact it'll have on the future. Just to recap too, everything we learned today, even though it's in a simplified form, it gives us a great appreciation for where it comes from and how we get to enjoy it today. And just to recap, we've gone through a little bit of the history of beer, the brewing process and the ingredients and the actual process in which it undergoes to brew beer. And we kind of seen the different cultural impacts it's had throughout history. So whether you like it or not, beer has been and will always be a present catalyst in human culture, serving as a common bond amongst people. So next time you have a cold one, just remember the history of this timeless golden beverage. Thank you guys.